So, Hasnain, welcome to this show of Better Tech, which is Startup Stories with Umair. So, सबसे पहले तो आप थोड़ा सा अपना इंट्रोडक्शन करवा दें कि क्या co-founders कौन है, startup क्या है, and we'll take it from there. It's going to be a general conversation, trying to get to know more about your startup as well as क्या कर रहे हो, किस stage पे हो.
ठीक. So just a background of me and the team. The co-founders are Nashit, who is a former colleague of mine, and I. And part of our founding team, we have a CTO on board, we have a CMO on board. So all of us at some point have worked with each other together. So and we had been thinking individually कि यार कुछ करना चाहिए. So that's why all of us decided to take the plunge. So I myself graduated from Lahore University of Management Sciences in
अच्छा, किस
2015.
बैच में है, किस में 2015 में?
2015, yes.
अच्छा, मैंने 2010 तक पढ़ा है वहाँ पे, so our paths didn't cross actually.
2010
तक.
right?
तो मैं computer science था. I'm not sure आप किस में थे, किस major?
I did my bachelor's in economics from
econ में थे. Econ में, सही.
Econ था. जो नाशिद है, he was a graduate of the batch of 2013. So after graduating, हम दोनों की काफी different story रही है. He is from a background where his family has a business that's been lasting the last 50-60 years. 1960 से इसका family का जो है auto parts का trading का business है, and he has like 6 brothers, all of whom are involved in some capacity in that market. He after graduation he was the one जो पाकिस्तान के अंदर you could say the first startup that was launched and then uska exit hua was Delivery Chacha, which was founded by Nashid in 2014, 2013. He worked with his family for 6 months after graduation. Phir uske baad he decided to launch this startup back at a time when 3G 4G bhi nahi tha Pakistan ke andar. So after at that time, I was working in an NGO. I had just graduated at university. I was part of the EMS department, which provided first aid. तो वहाँ से थोड़ा सा public health की तरफ शुरू में रुझान रहा. So that's why I joined an NGO for a couple of years. Here I left that NGO to join the corporate sector in 2017. I joined Kareem, and I was part of their performance department, which basically looks at the जो captains उस वक्त active होते हैं उनकी performance को improve करने की एक team बनी हुई है which did analytics, figure out what times, etc. इस तरह की चीजें. So at that time, 2017, late 2017, Nashid then sold his startup Delivery Chacha to Kareem, and he joined the team as the head of operations for bikes. So that's where we first met, and that's where we started working together. I was assigned the bikes category, and we launched like 11 cities, and the first 4 or 5 that we did launch, we launched burn neutral. So we worked on new launches. We launched a new category. So that went on for about another 6-7 months. After which I left Kareem to join Telenor Pakistan because again I was still at an age where I was sort of discovering what I want to do. तो पहले मैंने डेवलपमेंट का थोड़ा सा टेस्ट ले लिया, फिर मैंने कॉर्पोरेट स्टार्टअप का टेस्ट ले लिया, देन आई वेंट टुवर्ड्स स्टैंडर्ड कॉर्पोरेशन. So Telenor I worked for a year, and at that time Nashid also left Kareem and rejoined his family business for about a year or so. Here end of 2018 I left. End of 2019, I left Telenor and joined Daraz because of corporate corporate ke baad, I started moving a little bit more towards the startup scene because the startup and just standard corps hoti hain, they're usually at polar opposite in terms of their work style. So startup ke baad when I moved to corporate, to wo slightly slower a pace of working, less authority on actually executing things, etc., etc. तो वो वाले थोड़ी सी वहाँ पे environment tha, so I was like, yeah, I need to get to a more agile environment that I used to have back at Kareem. So Daraz, I joined Daraz in October or November 2019, and I was there for a year. In Daraz, I found like the ideal mix where you have structures and stability of a traditional corporation, but also they're still run.
Base
It's
of a
run.
startup. Yeah, base
Yeah,
of a
it's just still a startup. The management team is very young and they're off that hustle mindset. So that formed like a good balance for me as an employer, and I had planned on staying there for a while because I felt okay, this is the right mix, and I was doing the kind of work that I enjoyed. I had good bosses, so it was great. And at that time, even Nashid himself decided to leave his family business again and move back towards that startup scene. So he joined another organization as the CEO, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, and simultaneously we were also discussing. We met जब से
काफी घूमे हो
2000
आप दोनों काफी घूमे और फिर डिस्कस भी करते रहे कि करना है स्टार्टअप
डिस्कस भी करते रहे. यस, बीच में हम लोग के पास एक और भी आइडिया आया था which we
when did
then
you finally
researched.
take the plunge, both of you, back in 2020 or what?
2019 के throughout we were discussing 2000 late 2019 we decided कि यार कि कुछ करते हैं. So me and some other friends were actually on the path of researching a particular industry which was the recycling. जो पाकिस्तान के अंदर recycling industry है, that is a very 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 big market which needs to be formalized. We went on the ground for like once a week for 6 months speaking to जो इस वक्त कचरा collect होता है और जो recycle होता है, and every step of the ladder we went and spoke to people who were working there. But the reason why we didn't take the plunge over there was because it requires a lot of investment to get into. There are a lot of unsavory characters that you have to interact. So it's a whole jhamghata of problems which.
तो ये वाला स्टार्टअप आपने कब स्टार्ट किया था? ये फिर कब फाइनली?
तो जब recycling वाली चीज थोड़ी सी fizzle out होने लगी, तो then he was like, we should leverage the fact that I have an existing family business and I know the margins there because I've worked with everyone. So
And
I
he had
know
the
the
family business of auto parts, right?
Yeah, he has a family business part. So he knows the margins there. So we were like, yeah, acha, theek hai, let's look at that. So we started researching who else already does this. We knew that there are a few companies in Pakistan which are providing online mechanics and online part selling. There's the big names like Park Wheels, etc., and Segal Motors, etc. And then there are people like Mechanic for You, Mechanic Ustad, who are providing services as well. So we started researching that and who else is doing this, and a few examples came up, like jumped up right in front of us. There is yourmechanic.com in the US, which is currently worth about $200 million. There is Go Mechanic in India, which was also launched in 2014, and they recently raised their Series C funding, raising their valuation to about $400 million. So we saw that there is that precedent that exists. So it's not like we're thinking of something that's reinventing the wheel. It's just.
फिर आपको लगता नहीं कि पाकिस्तानी मार्केट relatively छोटी है in terms of automobile और वो सारा as compared to maybe an Indian or US market?
Definitely, choti to hai. So while we were talking to various people and we even had the privilege of speaking to the founders of Go Mechanic. I was randomly LinkedIn I was reaching out to people to sort of talk to them, and they were nice enough to reply, and we had an hour-long call of where we discussed कि हम लोग इस वक्त कहाँ पर हैं and where what were their learning, what was their early stages. So um, there will always be a factor of about 1 to 8 to 1 to 10 in terms of valuation and in terms of market size between a company in India and Pakistan. They're technologically further ahead than we are in our journey. Their population is more and more getting more and more incidents uh, of mobile internet, and they're becoming more tech savvy as a population as well. And of course, the population is
ज़्यादा भी है,
huge.
बड़ी भी है ना, बड़ी भी है.
Exactly. So 1:8, 1:10 की valuation hogi, but if you think about it, we were looking up the numbers on how many vehicles there are in Pakistan, and we found that about 3.9 million were registered as of 2017. तो
That
उसके ऊपर
includes
आप
cars and bikes both, or just cars?
no, this is just 4-week LTV vehicles.
Four
अगर
wheeler.
उसके ऊपर हाँ उसके ऊपर मैं अगर 10% year on year ही लगा दूं तो by 2021 का end there should be about 4.1 4.2 million cars in all of Pakistan.
अच्छा,
अब
10%, लेकिन historic growth रही है
जी, so
इतना.
2016 to 2017 9% growth थी, तो उसके हिसाब से just ballpark figure of 4.2 million बैठता है अगर मैं वही growth continue कर रहा हूँ. थोड़ा सा impact obviously corona and all of that aside, but a basic number is that you have
ठीक है,
approximately
4 million give or take, सही है.
4 million give or take vehicles हैं.
हम्म.
अब अगर आप अंदाजा लगाएं अपनी गाड़ी का, if you maintain your own vehicle or if you have multiple vehicles, अगर आप उनको maintain करें, so a newer vehicle आपका जो है साल का $500 का खर्चा तो आएगा ही आएगा. आपने उसके अंदर ऑयल चेंज करवा लिया, आपने उसके अंदर एक दफा ट्यूनिंग करवा दी, एक दफा सर्विस करवा दी, फिर उसके अलावा उसके अंदर आपने 2-3 दफा सफाई करवा ली. So all of these things they add up and you get around $500 per year roughly, which is 60-70 हज़ार रुपए तो बन जाते हैं आराम से खर्चे के अंदर. So now अगर मैं एक गाड़ी का $500 का खर्चा रखूं and there are about 4 million cars in Pakistan, तो ये तकरीबन $2 billion की तो इंडस्ट्री हो गई.
सही है.
So even if it's not the size of your other FMCG markets, जो hundreds of billions of dollars की market है, even this one is a $2 billion market in Pakistan. उसके अंदर अगर आप 10% भी capture कर लेते हो या 50% भी capture कर लेते हो, that's a huge potential right there.
ठीक है.
Then from then you can use that LTV as your basis to
How many
expand
of
it.
these ये जो 4 million का नंबर आपने बताया, इसमें से KLI के अंदर कितनी
KLI के अंदर we approximated that there were about 70% of this would be KLI.
Okay, ठीक है.
तो 70% would be KLI, तो आपका जो 2 billion का 70% है, that is roughly what you're playing for. You can expand to other mid-tier cities like आपका फैसलाबाद, क्वेटा, पेशावर, सियालकोट, all of these industrial cities that you can target. And we also found out that पाकिस्तान तो अलग बात है, जो मीना रीजन है, मिडल ईस्ट एंड नॉर्थ अफ्रीका एंड पाकिस्तान, इसका टोटल अगर मैं करूं तो तकरीबन $45 billion की मार्केट है.
ठीक है.
There
तो
are
exactly आपकी, मैं आपको थोड़ा सा sorry cut off कर रहा हूँ, but just for ताकि relevant discussion. So exactly आपकी service क्या है या आपकी product क्या है?
So what we're doing is fourfold. Number one is we're reaching out to customers directly and providing them with a service where as much as possible of your repair and maintenance of your vehicle we'll do at your doorstep. That's the number one thing that we provide. अब इसके अंदर जो जर्नी बनती है वो टू फोल्ड बनती है. या तो आपको पता है कि आपकी गाड़ी की रूटीन मेंटेनेंस है, आपकी व्हीकल की रूटीन मेंटेनेंस या वो सारी चीजें हो रही हैं. उसके अलावा होता ये है कि लेट्स से आपके गाड़ी में कोई आवाज आने लगे, सो व्हाट यू डू इज कि यू आर नॉट अ मैकेनिक, currently आपका process as is process is that you go टू अ मैकेनिक, वो आपको देख के बताता है कि इसके अंदर ये काम है, ये पार्ट्स रिक्वायर्ड हैं और इतनी लेबर है उसकी। पार्ट्स के लिए ही कैन डू वन ऑफ टू थिंग्स, ही कैन से कि ये कोने में रिटेलर की दुकान है, यहाँ से जाके ले लो, या प्लाजा से जाके ले लो अगर तुम्हें सस्ता, प्लाजा इज द सेंट्रल होलसेल पार्ट्स मार्केट इन कराची, वहां से जाके ले लो, वहां से आपको सस्ता पड़ जाएगा। या फिर वो कहेगा कि अच्छा यू गिव मी द मनी, आई विल गो एंड गेट एंड आई विल गिव यू द रिसीट। So there are a lot of touch points over here. There's an element of trust that you need to have with your mechanic. There's वो आपकी communication, आपकी history, वो सारी चीजें in play आती हैं। So what we're trying to do is provide this entire journey of one platform.
Okay.
A platform जिसके अंदर the customer can interact by booking either parts or service orders. जो मैकेनिक है वो उसको ऑर्डर्स रिसीव हो रहे हैं, उसका वर्क फ्लो मैनेज हो रहा है, उसको इंफॉर्मेशन जा रही है। सो उसको वी आर टेलिंग कि यार आपको अगर ब्रेक का ऑर्डर है, सो दिस इज द चेकलिस्ट ऑफ ऑल द स्टेप्स दैट यू डू इन अ ब्रेक चेक, राइट। फिर उसके बाद जो पार्ट्स प्रोक्योर करने हैं वो मैं होलसेल रेट पे ले रहा हूँ, एंड एट फर्दर स्केल आई विल बाय इट इम्पोर्टर स्टेज। अभी क्या होता है, इम्पोर्टर इम्पोर्ट करता है, वो होलसेलर को बेचता है, वो रिटेलर को बेचता है, वो मैकेनिक को बेचता है, जो कस्टमर को बेचता है। तो between the importer and the customer there is a 30-35% margin that each person is taking. So what we're trying to do is that given enough volume, we can enter directly at the importer level and say okay, we're giving you this volume, give us a lower rate, so we'll pass those savings.
एक आपका service play है which is checking up your car and
Exactly.
maintaining it, and the second play is essentially
Parts.
e-commerce and parts play, correct?
Exactly.
ठीक है।
But we knew that an average car owner is not going to buy, let's say, a suspension just to buy a suspension, right? He's going to, उसकी गाड़ी में सस्पेंशन का काम है, तभी वो सस्पेंशन खरीदेगा।
Correct.
तो प्ले ये है कि even the service जो vertical है, even that is facilitating my sale of parts.
सही है।
So that is why we needed as a business to start the service wali cheese in order to be able to have a high enough turnover to
आपने कोई इसमें
get in.
सब्सक्रिप्शन प्ले भी सोचने की कोशिश की कि मतलब हर मैं अपनी गाड़ी को वारंटी करा लूं, सब्सक्राइब करा लूं, फॉर इंस्टेंस?
Yes, so we have subscription plans that we're planning to launch. उसकी currently campaign in process है, where what first we're trying to do is we're trying to educate the average car owner कि आपकी गाड़ी में रूटीन मेंटेनेंस के काम क्या होते हैं। बिकॉज होता ये है कि आपने पूरे साल ऑयल चेंज नहीं करवाया, फिर आपका एट सम पॉइंट जाके इंजन सीज हो गया, विच मेंट एन एडिशनल 50-60 हज़ार रुपए का खर्चा फॉर नो रीजन। you the average car owner does not, a lot of people do not care about these things. I know friends now personally who regularly call me simply because now it's convenient enough for them to not have to waste their Sunday or their Saturday or the day off, um, or
तो
take
चलो
a day off
आपका
just to do that.
आपके इस वक्त करंट ट्रैक्शन क्या है? For how long have you been in the market as a startup?
So currently we've done about 8 months of operations. We started officially on November 12th, 2020. But उस वक्त हम लोग बिल्कुल pilot phase में थे. We were testing our service out with friends and family, etc., etc. So proper flow where we started marketing, we started pushing it out into the market. That we started to do in December, and we were fully functional with all the resources hired and everything in January. So usually we track it from January.
Okay.
So as of right now, I have processed over 5,000 orders. We have dealt with in total. We have looked at over 3,000 different types of cars, because अगर आप brands count करें, brands के अंदर years count करें और फिर years के अंदर
But
variants.
right now this is only Karachi, right?
Right now, this is Karachi. We are in conversations with a few insurance companies, which will, who are looking to simplify their claims solutions. So
Okay.
what we will be doing is we'll be launching Lahore and Islamabad with the B2B play.
Sure.
So far, in the first 4 or 5 months, we were purely B2C because we were testing what operating model to actually go forward with. We iterated like by 3 or 4 times in the last 8 months in terms of how, and now we feel that we're in a comfortable, scalable operating model.
So have you raised any
Uh,
money so far?
we have an principal agreement with with a local investor. We are expecting to receive those funds by the middle of September. And us investment se the basically the plan is to launch Lahore and Islamabad very soon. Um,
So are you,
so that is
sorry about cutting you off, but are you in the market for raising money or you are not, your round is not open?
our round is not closed yet. We have not raised the amount that we wanted to, but we were employing a strategy to not push too hard to raise investment at this stage. The reason for that is that because you're an angel investor yourself, it's you have to go a little bit strategically where you need to push hard enough, but not so hard that you put investors off.
Sure.
A simple example for that is currently the in fad industries to invest in for a lot of investors are the logistics, the ed techs, the fintechs, the health techs. Right? That's everyone is looking
The
for
darling
a
is actually instant. The darling is actually instant commerce these days.
yeah. So उसके अंदर अभी ज्यादा प्रेशर और मल्टीप्लायर्स की हंट जो है चल रही है with companies raising every 4 or 5 months, which is quite uh, incomprehensible to me, for very frankly. What we're trying to do and the way we're trying
Well, then
to
so the whole thesis of investment is that essentially the number one, number two player in the market controls, in any market, controls 80% of the market.
yeah.
So the whole thesis around this VC investment is generally is that you have to push your player to be a number one or a number two player so that you control a large size of market and then the profitability will come. So initially it's a growth capital.
Yeah, but वो profitability जो है इतना hindsight में चला जाता है, it's like
हाँ,
priority 2, 3, 4 पे चली जाती है that I don't know. I just feel very frankly speaking, at some point, it's a bubble that's going to burst where someone's going to be like, okay, we've invested that much money in XYZ startup. Where is my return? And as you grow in those multiples, I feel that at higher stages, it's more and more impossible. I mean, and then you have to take drastic steps like Kareem had to, where they had to let go of so many employees, etc., etc. So what we're trying to do is investment or no investment, we are trying to build a very scalable model. That has been our focus. Yes, growth and spending on marketing and spending on buying users and all of that is important as well. But at the same time, what our processes, our margins, our pricing, all of that, we're trying to keep as close to that 0 point as possible. We're trying to minimize burn at any multiple. So, just to give you an example, um, I got this advice from someone a while back to read a book, and the line that he sold me on was that if you start making money, then you didn't grow fast enough. Um, we know that in this industry there is like this conscious effort on our part to yes to go after growth, but at the same time build scalable processes. Right now, for example, we're completely ops positive when we operate,
sure.
um, which means that all of if we exclude all of our overheads, this business itself will keep on running. Now
And
with,
how big is your team? And if you can, would you like to share कि अभी आप अगर raise कर रहे हैं तो क्या आप round raise कर रहे हैं उसकी क्या details हैं? So if anyone looking at this,
so
they may want to contact you. So and
so
all your founders are full time, properly incorporated, or how it's going?
So इस वक्त situation ये है that we are a private limited company. We registered back in February in our second months of operation. So we didn't believe. So both me and Nashid, we left our good salary jobs because we were like, yeah, we're young. We have a little bit of privilege of being at Lums, being associated with Kareem and Daraz and so on and so forth. We have that privilege to sort of experiment in our lives. नहीं चला तो नौकरी एक साल बाद फिर मिल भी जाएगी. So वो privilege recognize करते हुए both of us left our jobs. We've both been working full time. Uh, so both of the co-founders have been working full time with us. We have hired their an ops lead. He is a 2017 graduate from Habib University, and he also had a passion for cars. He was running something similar. He was running his own workshop for about 18 months. But वहाँ पे कुछ internal conflicts, cash flow issues वगैरह की वजह से he was like, I need somewhere which has need to go somewhere, start working somewhere where which has a lot more direction, is financially more structured, उसके systems or recording, and वो कोई भी चीज informal नहीं चल रही because वो given at a brick and mortar workshop, when you go into managing individual service or सबका payroll and वो वाली सारी चीजें आप managing में जब चले जाते हो ना, then you don't have time for innovation. You don't have time to develop systems, etc. You need to step a little bit away from the operations, make sure your operations are running fine, smoothly without you, and then you can look at how to make it more and more streamlined. We've always felt that even when Nashit and I were discussing from the beginning, we're not in it to make an app. We that's been ever since I'm from a very naukri pesha background, like very middle class, very all my life, all my family have done jobs their entire life. So this is something new in my entire family.
उसमें भी कोई बुरी बात नहीं है, by the way.
हाँ,
उसमें भी कोई बुरी बात नहीं है, by
कोई
the way.
बुरी बात नहीं है, but like but I was the first one to take that plunge. So when you take a jump like that and from a like coming from a background where safety and security and fiscal responsibility is of utmost importance, तो फिर जो है पीछे से भी थोड़ा सा पुश आता है कि यार how is it going, should you get back into the market, वो थोड़ा सा
होता है.
it's hard for them to have faith कि यार कि let's see where this goes. तो even for me and even for the fellow that I'm talking about, उसका भी यही था कि भाई घर से भी pressure आता है कि यार अच्छा, why are you doing something that is categorized as blue collar, right? Because when you're running your own workshop, you're managing, आप capacity कम होती है तो आप खुद जाके काम भी करना शुरू हो जाते हैं, right? So someone with an undergrad degree in development policy is, you know, underneath the vehicle like changing its oil. तो वो घर से जब pressure आता है थोड़ा सा, तो then you're like अच्छा ठीक है, now I need to sort of be a little bit responsible with my life as well. So all of us got together and we started gathering like-minded individuals who could take that risk, and sort of convincing them to evaluate their position very rationally and then take that risk. We don't want anyone who needs a job to come work with us because वो फिर दिल से नहीं काम करेगा और because उसकी priorities और वो सारे मसले होंगे, right? तो all of us, the entire management team, are people like those where we're secure enough, where we have a little bit of privilege, so we're like, okay, let's explore this for a year. So right, as for the funding that we have raised, I can reveal that we raised about $125,000. We are we were aiming to raise about over $300,000. But the reason why we aren't pushing, like I was saying before, we aren't pushing anymore for investment, that because this is a new industry, not many people have invested here, and it's not an in fad startup at this stage. Uh, we were getting a lot of rejections, which were phrased like, "Okay, this is too early for us, and this is a new market. We'll have to research a lot more, etc., etc." Things like that. So that's why we strategized, okay, let's stop our fundraising over here. Let's take this one person's money um, who has invested in us, and let's show the people that we can meet all the projections that we had shown them, um, and then
Major
go again.
competitors कौन है आपके market में?
इस वक्त मेजर कंपेटिटर एज सच कोई नहीं है. आई वुड ऑनेस्टली वेरी फ्रैंकली से कि इन पाकिस्तान देयर वी हैव नो मेजर कंपेटिटर्स.
लाहौर में किसी ने शुरू किया था इस तरह का काम? I cannot remember their name.
Yes, so कराची में लाइक आई सेड हैं, देयर इज मैकेनिक उस्ताद है, मैकेनिक फॉर यू है, हुकुम जनाब है, but they're not really competitors because what they have done is that they have created a workshop. They are keeping their entire workforce in-house. What we are doing, we have a twofold model. And anything under an hour's work, we do with our in-house core team, who are all trained and they hold diplomas from technical institutes, etc. And anything that takes more than an hour, what we'll do is we'll take over your car. We'll take it to a workshop on our panel, and we've got about 8 of those in various parts of Karachi. So we take it to the closest workshop, we deliver it there. That workshop does the job, and then we have an 80-20 sharing model. We QC and then deliver it back to the customer. So we're trying to remain as agile as possible without becoming ops heavy. So when you hire your entire team house and you're doing all your jobs yourself, you're bound down for a long period of time. Anything, so agar clutch ka kaam aa jata hai, that's like a 6-7 ghante ka kaam straight away. Rather than do that ourselves, why not let a workshop, which we know is about 60% utilized? We went around, we spoke to like 50 workshops and asked them how much work they have. And their response was that any given day, I have work for about 6 hours, and the rest of the 4 hours, we're just sitting there because they're waiting for customers to come in. They're not doing any marketing, they're not doing any outreach, etc. They're just there. People know where the certain mechanics market is. They just go there and then they just um, pull into the first workshop. So we know that there is spare utilization that we can tap into in the existing mechanics market, and there are about 5,000 to 6,000 workshops in Karachi alone. तो उसमें से मैं अगर 15-20 भी tap कर लूँ, I can increase my capacity to be able to handle like 300-400 orders every single day. If I'm doing 400 orders every single day, that means I'm doing about 12,000 orders a month. I'm doing 36,000 cars a quarter.
So everyone, this was Hasnain with us. Unfortunately, due to some communication issues at his end, he couldn't continue. But you have listened to a great startup story of Okayker, and we hope that we wish and pray them great success, and they're doing some great stuff. So this is another episode from Startup Stories with UJ, where we have introduced another startup to you. We'll bring more to you in due course. Thank you for listening.